Welcome to In the Zone. Just as always, I'm Craig Zimmerman. We're welcome to In the Zone number 40. Today with me is what I'm going to call a FOM. Welcome, Rob Gorniak.
Thank you, Craig.
You are a father of Mariners.
Yes, I am. Multiple.
Yeah,
yes,
multiple.
Three.
Multiple.
Yep.
So we'll get into that a little bit. Your path and my paths crossed there with football, and then with my grandchildren going to Indian Hill School in Washington Township. You were a police officer assigned or patrolling there at different events.
Yes, I've got a story about that.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
So where were you born and raised?
I'm a native of Roseville, Michigan, and I have spent time in Detroit. I've got family from the Detroit area, and so, but I grew up in Roseville, around the southeast end of Roseville. Went to Catholic schools my whole life. I went to St. Angela.
Okay.
Grade school. It's now closed.
Right.
And then from there, I went to Notre Dame High School in Harper Woods.
Which used to be across from Eastland Mall.
Yes, it was. Okay. Yeah, right around the back door there. So yeah, I spent a lot of time on the east side. I still have family members in Harper Woods. And so, yeah, but both of my schools are now closed. So it's a sign of the times, I suppose.
And then there's an asterisk by Notre Dame because Notre Dame Prep carries on the name and probably carries a little bit if they're going to do class reunions maybe and stuff like that.
Yeah, oh yeah, I still get correspondence from them, invitations to the outings, things like that. The funny thing is actually when I was working as a police officer, time for a short story.
Yeah.
I was working as a security officer during a basketball game. I think it was Dakota, and Notre Dame Prep was the guest. So they were filing in, and I was walking, doing my duty in full uniform, and I see all these girls come in, and they're wearing these Letterman jackets. And I thought, must be somebody's girlfriend, you know. Well, now there's more and more and more. And finally, the curiosity got the best of me, so I pulled one of these girls aside. Excuse me. I said, you know, do you have a boyfriend that plays? Oh, no, that's my school. I said, what? I said, yeah.
When you went to school?
Yeah, it was all boys.
Right.
Then it became co-ed, and it just kind of blew my mind to see girls with all the Letterman. Yeah, pretty cool, though.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
So, growing up in Roseville in the 80s, right? Well, you graduated from high school when?
84.
84.
Yep.
So a little bit different than today.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, when you think back to Notre Dame, I mean, that was an institution back then.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then next door was the all-girls school, right?
Regina, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
Okay, so give me the background of mother, father, siblings.
Well, my parents were both born and raised in Detroit on the Lower East Side. And my dad's name was Robert as well. My mom, rest both their souls. Her name is Gail. I have two older sisters, Kathy and Lisa. Kathy's a Canadian now. She lives in LaSalle, Canada. Okay. And my sister Lisa lives in Warren with her family. So, yeah, it was
a lot of my parents as well grew up on the East Side. So where did your dad work?
My dad was an employee early on. He was an employee at Continental Motor Company, which is now closed. And then he went on to work for Sears Roebuck and Company as a delivery guy. So he'd go around and deliver all your appliances back in the heyday in the 70s.
Well, when you think again, we're talking different world.
Right.
You're talking Sears back in say the 60s, 70s, 80s. That's where you went for a couple things. If nothing else, you went to Sears for Craftsman tools.
Yes.
For die-hard batteries.
Yes.
And for appliances.
Absolutely. Yep, Kenmore, yeah.
And so it's sort of crazy when you think about that scenario. There is no more, and it's just different.
Yeah, yep. Everything kind of changes. Yeah, isn't that interesting?
I've even purchased, I would say appliances there up until probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know? So just because you were used to it. The Kenmore name, the warranty, how it works.
It was big stuff.
Yeah. So growing up there, okay. Your sisters were older.
Yes.
So relatives in the area otherwise, cousins?
All my cousins, I actually only have three first cousins, and they were all, I have two that were raised out in Southern California, and another one that lived down in Florida. So not real close family, kind of a smaller knit family we had. But yeah.
Now, do you have a memory where when you're down in Roseville, you'll cruise down the old street and check the old house out?
Oh, of course, all the time. all the time. We used to cruise Gratiot
Right.
as a teenager, so that was a big event back then, teenage days. And we'd always walk to school. We were only 4 or 5 blocks from the school and had a couple neighborhood. In fact, one of my best friends is still, to this day, we're considered to be best friends from 4th grade on. So
Okay.
yeah, we made a lot of good memories there.
It's funny how there's certain landmarks, and there's some of them still there. The one that's changed names, but it always stood for me, because I worked down there a lot, was like Marola Chevrolet.
Oh yeah.
Sort of a landmark.
Yeah.
Now it's, I can't think of the name of it. There's another Chevy dealer, but you know where
Exactly,
you would call it Marolis if you passed
Yeah,
it,
right on Gratiot and Topher there.
Yeah.
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 Roller
then-
Chevrolet.
And then East Point High School on the corner of 9 and Gratiot.
Yep.
Back then, you didn't go more than, I always say, back in those days, you could probably walk 6, 8 blocks and you ran into some church or school.
Oh yeah.
They were
Yep.
all over the place.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we'd bike ride all over the place. I was one of those kids. I'd like to hang out at the library, just quiet, and I could read. I love to read. So yeah, good times.
So when did you decide you wanted to be a police officer?
Well, I went after high school. I went off to college. Went to the University of Detroit, and that's, by the way, is where my mom worked. She was a dental assistant down at the main university when it was in Detroit. And so one of the benefits we received as having her as an employee was that we got free college education.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, it was great. And of course, at the time I didn't know what I wanted, so I went into it with a thought of becoming an accountant, because I did pretty well with math and accounting, in high school. So I thought that would be my venue there, but I didn't find it to be my liking. Took a few criminal justice classes, found I was hooked, and went on from there. So yeah, I'd say somewhere in about the second year of college is when I decided to devote my attention to law enforcement, and got my criminal justice degree.
So did you work just for the Sheriff's Department, or did you work for somebody before the Macomb County Sheriff?
No, I was hired on directly as a corrections officer in 1991 through the Macomb County Sheriff's Office. It was a great place to work, very welcoming. I felt, because I grew up in Macomb County,
Sure.
I felt very comfortable there, and there was quite a few people from Roseville. So yeah, I went right to there, and I stayed the
Would that have been when Bill Hackle was
Yes,
the sheriff?
indeed, yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And now his son is the Macomb County executive, and he was
Correct.
the sheriff as well.
Correct, yeah.
So you had 2 Hackles at your.
Yes, I did, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So tell me about your wife and children.
My wife's name is Sue, and we've been married for 29 years now, and she's just a great person, very loving person. She currently works out in Warren at a doctor's office. She's been out there quite a number of years, and she runs the office and takes care of the doctors there.
Okay.
So I get a lot of feedback from her. And the only downspout is that she works so far from home, but she's committed, and she really enjoys it.
So what year did you move up this way?
We were 2006. We made the decision to move from. We had a house in St. Clair Shores, just a small 3-bedroom ranch, and the kids were growing. I had 3 boys, so we decided to make the move. We have another friend that lives out in Smiths Creek, and he seemed to make it work, so here we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what drew you to the area?
I think the blue water.
Okay.
To be honest, it's like you're in another world once you get east of I-94 up in St. Clair County here. It's
Right.
it's still a lot of the life styles are
Rural.
it's very similar to what it's been for years and years. A lot of farmers, a lot of families.
We always laugh about Mariner football, and you say, when those teams from the city, from the MAC conference, come up Marine City Highway, and they figure they get out the freeway, they're there almost, and then they drive 15 more miles inland,
Yes.
and then they turn left onto King Road, and they go a couple more miles,
Yep.
and then even with the new entrance off King Road there, they go into the woods.
Yes. Yeah.
Kids are probably freaked out.
They are. I've heard that multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even my own family members from the city would come up, and
Are you
I
kidding
get
me?
that phone call. Where are we? Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, you just keep going.
Yeah. Yep.
Just
You,
keep
you'll
going.
get there. Yep.
Make a left at the end.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
it.
Yeah. So your 3 boys, tell us about their names and what they're doing.
My oldest son is Joey. He's 27 years old. He's married. He's got 2 children, so I've got 2 grandkids, both of whom are going to be future saints. Excuse me, saints. It's hard to say that with a smile,
Yeah.
But so my granddaughter goes to Gearing, and then my grandson, he just started preschool today, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So they live out here in St. Clair, and they love the area as well. He's been married for about 5 years now. And then my second oldest son is Danny. He's 24 this year, and he works as a carpenter's apprentice. So he goes around and he does rebuilds on remodels on kitchens and baths, things like that. So he's learning his trade, going to get his license here soon. And then, of course, my youngest son is Devin, who he played 4 years at Marine City, and then now he's out at, he went 2 years over at St. Clair Community College on a scholarship, so we're really proud of him. And then he's out at Grand Valley now. He just started a couple weeks ago, so yeah.
No, a couple of the little things with the kids I remember in football was that being that the second oldest one had a pretty big play in a semifinal game against Lansing Sexton, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this always goes down the road of you can't remember what you had for lunch yesterday,
right.
but you can remember this day,
Yeah.
the time, the temperature, the whole deal.
Yeah.
So I think it was third quarter, colder than cold, like about 4 degrees, a semifinal game. Mariners side of the field, I think we were up 13-7, I think. 13-6, something like that. He intercepted a pass with a couple minutes left to sort of seal the deal.
Yeah,
right?
I remember that. Yeah.
And then a couple years later, his brother comes up on the team and makes a couple big plays. And I said, now, what's your brother going to say? What's the better play, yours or your brother's? So
yeah, I remember that. Devin still talks about that to this day. That was a big thing for him when you asked him that, and I was so thrilled. Thank you for that, by the way. Yeah. But yeah, it was it's quite the rivalry there. Yeah. But yeah, he's they're all. I'm so glad that they went through that program. It's not just the game; it's everything they learned.
Sure.
In fact, on the way here today, I thought to myself, okay, early is on time is late. And I got it, and it's just I know that's something they think about, and
So the one thing that I talked to Chief Heslop about, and I've mentioned this several times over in the interviews that I've done, the other 39 interviews with a lot of people that are several law enforcement, several teachers, several coaches, and my take on it is it's not necessarily the score of the game or the win or the loss, but it's, and I said this to Coach Heslop, Chief Heslop, I said, in the big scheme of things, isn't it to train these young individuals so they don't have to deal with your profession or they don't have to deal with it negatively?
Right.
And what I mean is being good citizens down the road.
Oh yeah, by far. Yeah, that's very important, I think.
Especially, with somebody like yourself that has the years of experience in law enforcement, a lot of cultural and problems that we have in society can be remedied by respect and discussing things, I would say. Right?
Yep, absolutely, yeah.
Any mentors that you had?
My Uncle Merle, that would be my mom's brother. By far, he was my biggest mentor. He was a football coach, teacher.
Okay.
He went to Central Michigan, then he went out to California, lived in LA, was a school teacher for Burroughs and Burbank high schools, and also a coach there. And he also coached at one of the community colleges there. So as I grew up, that's where I got hooked into football and also into the teaching profession, and just a really good, solid guy.
Okay.
Although he was a Democrat, so we had our differences.
So now you retired as a Macomb County Sheriff.
Correct.
About a year and a half ago.
Yes.
But you haven't sat in front of the TV too long. Tell me about what you're doing in retirement.
Oh, I don't, yeah. Well, I started out last year. I took the summer off, and then in the fall I applied and became a substitute teacher. So I came out and I worked in East China a couple times, middle schools and the grade schools, which I really like. And And then in the winter, I decided I wanted to do a little bit more. So all the years that I've been driving as a patrolman, I would see all the driver's ed kids out there every now and then. Of course, a lot of the kids are the ones that you tend to pull over more because they're young, they make mistakes.
Sure.
So I thought, you know what, I could at least maybe try to inflict some experience on them and help them before they make these mistakes on the road and end up with the tickets. So I went and got my certification through the state, and now I work at the Macomb Driving Academy in Chesterfield.
Okay.
So I really like it. Really, I love it. Love kids.
Okay. Now, what does that job entail as far as hours for you?
I usually, depends on the time of year. This time of year when kids are back in school, we'll pick up the kids at the high school around 2 o'clock, and then we drive for an hour. Each kid gets an hour per se in a ride, and then they get in the back seat and watch for an hour. Depends on how many hours, how many kids, but I've been working like 2 to 8 pretty much every day.
Okay. Enjoying it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I get a lot of weird looks from people who are like, "You like to drive kids?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fun." And it gives you a chance to really understand the young mind, and because they'll tell you anything.
Sure.
And good and bad. And but it's fun. I really enjoy it. I really, really like it. Yeah.
Now, do you still have the brake on your side?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So
absolutely.
It's still in the car.
Yep.
Okay.
It does come into play every now and then,
Okay.
as does the hand on the wheel. But
Okay.
for the most part, they're all pretty good. Yeah.
Now, are you working out of certain areas?
Usually, most of our kids are Anchor Bay students.
Okay.
And occasionally we'll get kids from as far away as like Dakota, Lance Cruise districts, things like that. Actually, I think we had a Marine City kid the other day too, so it was kind of neat.
So now, in your travels of being a teacher for driver's ed, do you have sort of a route that you're taking them? Because you probably want to get rural.
Right.
You probably want to get city.
Yeah.
A little bit of everything. So tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, we have 6 drives that we have to get each student through, and usually it begins in the parking lot to see how well they can. Some of the kids don't know how to steer a car, which
Sure.
It depends on
Right.
where they grew up and all that. So depending on their level of experience, we usually start them slow. We'll sometimes take them to the high school itself, and we'll drive
Okay.
around there. Yup. From there, it goes into usually subdivisions, business districts, where the speeds are about 25 miles an hour. There's not really a lot of traffic, and we just kind of work from there. And then as they get more experienced and more comfortable, then we go on to the protected intersections. New Baltimore downtown is a good area too. They get some exposure to pedestrian traffic, things like that. And then eventually they go onto the freeway, and I bring them up here for my rural drives because it's kind of neat. There's a couple of roundabouts. Yes, and rather than go into the city where there's a lot of construction, I just zip them up the freeway, and we do the roundabouts over here. So
Roundabout, I think that a huge percentage of Americans could learn how to run a roundabout.
yes, I agree. It's not as intimidating as they
Right.
as they make it out to be, but yeah, I agree with you.
But the interesting thing is the roundabout out here on Fredmore Highway is pretty easy because it's one lane.
Yes.
You get out to by the one over by Van Dyke and 18.
Yeah.
That one's
Yep.
that's 3 lanes. And during like rush hour, I don't think you'd want to take a 15-year-old through.
No, it can be kind of hairy, you
Yeah.
know. So.
And then, well, of course, there's one. There's one on 26 in Van Dyke Freeway too.
There's double.
2 of them.
Yes,
Right.
that
going
one's
through.
interesting. I've done those. Yeah.
Now, let me throw this one at you. I've been several times. My old office is at 15 and a half in Crooks. Have you been over it?
Not lately.
Okay,
No.
Crooks, no, Big Beaver,
Yep.
right under the I-75 freeway. It does one of these where the traffic goes to the other side. What do they call those? Do you know?
Like they're almost like a merge lane.
yeah, they're opposites.
Yes, there's a couple of those right on the.
There's one by Auburn Hills going over the freeway there, which would be University Drive.
Yeah, where you have to exit and then someone's also coming on.
Yeah,
Right.
Like in Big Beaver, you're going west, and it naturally crosses over to the other side. And went online to check out why that is, and they said the reason for that is it's an instant on onto the freeway, and there's you don't have to stop. But my contention is, if you're either 16 or 85,
Right. Oh, yeah.
that's got to be a cultural shock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
you've
it
gotta
does
make-
move real well. So now, have you taken any driver's ed kids through any of those?
No, have not. No, we try to keep it local. I do try to get them into some new experiences within reason. 23-mile road is a...
Well, that was my next question to you. If you take a 15, 16-year-old kid into 23 east of the freeway to Gratiot, that's about as crazy
Yes, it is.
as anywhere.
Absolutely.
Because there's no median.
Yeah, it is very dangerous.
You got to know. where you're-
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I think this is where my law enforcement experience comes into play. I just have this ability to remain calm in those situations. I've seen, the distances you have between vehicles, and I kind of, it just seems to help.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
all I
okay
can-
driving it, but I always look at it and say, that and then up by the mall in Port Huron are probably the two worst in our general area as far as accidents. I personally think they should bring Michigan left-hand turns and put a median everywhere.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I
From a
agree.
police officer's standpoint, it's got to be a dream compared to having center turn lanes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then just the amount of, driveways there with all those
Right.
businesses. That's really that's one of my main concerns, is when you start to
Right.
stack up and you got
You
people
got
wanting to
strip
come in.
center after strip
Yeah.
center, mall after all these,
Yeah. So.
So you take them into just about anything and just try to be their calming voice.
Yeah, yeah. I'm always upbeat. I try to really give them a lot of positive feedback, and of course, like I said, the kids will tell you a lot of stuff. Well, when they start driving with mom and dad, they'll tell you how mom is not a very good passenger or things like that, because they tend to the octaves of their voice go
Right.
way up, and so I try to keep that at bay, and I have a good time with it.
Okay.
And hopefully I'm making some difference and they remember things. And
Okay.
so,
Let's go back to your days as the Macomb County Sheriff and tell me, were there different positions that you held at the Sheriff's Department?
yes, I started out in 1991 as a corrections officer inside of the jail. So that was quite the experience.
Sure.
Not my favorite part of the job, but I learned a lot
Sure.
about people and how to talk to people. And so that was my stepping stone. After a couple of years, I was promoted to road patrol deputy. I started out in the courts as a bailiff. So again, I got more experience dealing with people, the judges, the attorneys, the bad guys, things like that. And then from there, I went on and did some road patrol down at Harrison Township. So I spent the majority of my career there as a patrol officer, and I really enjoyed that. Harrison is a unique community, and I learned a lot down there as well. And then as my career went on, I did a stint in the auto theft unit.
Okay.
I did the juvenile section. And then near the end of my career, I got an opportunity to become a DARE instructor, and that's really what kind of like helped fuel my desire to teach and,
Sure.
and get involved with the kids. So
Was there one of those areas that was your favorite if you look back on all those years?
definitely the DARE program.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So that's actually where I met you, was at one of
Yep.
their graduations,
Yep.
and that's a program in which you go into the 5th grade of the grade schools in the area in your jurisdiction, and you have a program that you deliver to them, and you get some feedback. And I just fell in love with it. I really did. I enjoyed
Okay.
it, and I enjoyed the environment, teachers, all that.
Do they still have that program?
They do.
Okay.
They do.
Okay. How many officers would you guess that they have dedicated to that program?
Just one.
Okay.
Yeah, at one point back
So
in,
you're
I'd
hopping
say
from
the
school to
80s.
school then.
Oh yeah, you're
Okay.
moving. Yeah, you're
Okay.
moving.
So there's probably no, in that position, and you're not getting used to any one thing because you're going from school to school.
Right. Yeah, your curriculum stays the same,
Yeah.
and the message is the same, but yeah, you're meeting all
People.
kinds of people in all kinds of areas. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think we covered just about everything.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming by.
Well, thank you
and
so
being
much.
Part of it. If anybody knows anybody here that wants to be on the show, or you want to have them pay penance and be on the show, whatever, the phone number's there, 586-707-5811. And until next time, I'll say have a good day from In the Zone.